I'd get the typical person, and this wasn't 100% of the time, but more often than not, I could bet on if someone reached out for coaching, they would probably have this huge foundation of low intensity running. Like that was what I was dealing with in terms of like, this is the starting point. What do we do next? Whereas now I'm getting clients who are coming from totally different backgrounds, sometimes not running at all. And that's a whole different question almost too, because like the strengths, it's almost like a polarizing strength and weakness between those two groups, where like I'm working with either one. I try to simplify things for them so that they kind of have an understanding of like, this is what we're going to kind of do generally speaking, and whichever inputs we focus on the most at which stage is just going to depend on where you're at and then what you're actually preparing for. But if we take those two extremes, like the person who's like, oh, I'm an ultra runner, I just run a lot of long, slow miles, or I was a strength athlete, but I was watching this David Goggins video and now I'm going to run 100 miles.
Yep. Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow too. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
It's like, okay, so I have one person here who has a deficiency in potentially strength and speed work. Mm-hmm. Then I have this other person here who has, like, not only do they not have a deficiency in strength, they've probably in some cases 2x'd the loading zone for optimal running performance in terms of what they can do from a strength standpoint. And their high intensity fitness has just been worked on year and year and year after year. So we have two very different starting points there. The ultra runner who has just been doing a lot of long, slow miles, we can probably jump into a speed work development phase pretty quick in that plan, and that's going to move the needle for them. Versus, say, the strength athlete who comes in, they have an aerobic deficiency, if anything. Mm-hmm. So like that person needs to probably really kind of chill out and maybe even do some walking and hiking during some of the early stages running. So we're going to be probably focusing on different intensities to start, and they may both be training for 100 miles too. That's the funny thing about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's completely different.
Yeah, and those are two extremes. I think there's also some middle ground in there where people are at, but it makes it interesting from a kind of coaching standpoint, where I try to first just kind of highlight with a coaching client, here are some key intensities that I think are valuable that we'll work on along the way. The real question is just going to be the order of operations, and that's going to be determined by the event intensity you're training for and where you're at currently.